100 years of the Soweto Derby, a milestone has been reached. To talk to us now about the Derby and its history, we're joined by Putco Mafani, a former Kaizer Chiefs public relations officer who has also been married for about 15 years to Bongi, that's his wife, and today, interestingly, it marks your wedding anniversary, Mr. Mafani. A very good afternoon to you.
Well, thanks, Collie, and good afternoon to you and to the viewers at home. What a day it has been, and it continues to be.
You have seen 30, and I'm told that it's actually you have been active for 30 derbies. When they say you have been active for 30 derbies, what exactly does that mean?
Well, being active for derbies, no less than 30 of them, means I have been at the center of the organizing, at the center of the arrangements, particularly because while I was PRO for Kaizer Chiefs, I also doubled up as Master of Ceremonies or Director of the Proceedings for the game, because then, if you remember, we packaged the events. So we looked at the Soweto Derby not only as the 90 minutes of active football, but we would package it and make sure that there's ample entertainment pre-kickoff, during warm-up, and during halftime as well. And there were a number of sponsors that were prepared to come on board and assist us in terms of entertainment and competitions also for supporters to be able to take something home. So I've been at the center of those by virtue, particularly with home games. I would be the master of ceremonies, including the Soweto Derby of the dreaded 11 April 2001. Yeah, conveniently, yes. I was the man with the microphone, you know.
And that's a sad event that we are going to talk about in a moment. And there you have it, Putco Mafani. You probably are going to laugh at me because apparently I said 100 years as opposed to 100 games of the Derby. It tells you exactly just how much of a clueless person I am when it comes to matters of football. So very interesting how all of this is packaged, as you spoke about it, how you package the games. But the one question I've always had is, why does this Derby always center around two teams, Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs? Why couldn't Sundowns, for example, be part of this? Take us back to why these two teams are known as the Soweto Giants.
Originally, there were 3-4 versions of the Soweto Derby, and that was even before Kaizer Chiefs was formed. There was Pimville United Brothers. There was also Moroka Swallows. And Orlando Pirates, of course, because Orlando Pirates date back to 1937. And so they've been around for quite a long time. And then came Kaizer Chiefs, 1969. When Kaizer came back from North America, he had been playing for a team that was then the Atlanta Chiefs. And coming back home to South Africa in 1969, he learned that there were divisions in his own camp, which was the Orlando Pirates camp, because you'll remember that Kaizer accepted an offer to go play in North America while he was an Orlando Pirates player. Even now, he's a proud alumnus of Orlando Pirates. Whenever Orlando Pirates have big events, and they have an understanding with Dr. Irvin Koza that whenever they have big events, as one of the Pirates legends, he is always invited. And so, but unfortunately, when he came back home in 1969, he discovered that things were not okay in the camp. And then there were people who persuaded him to start his own team, including his father. And then he left with a whole lot of other guys, Ratam Mokhotleng, Shaina Ngema, the late, and then there was Clarence Mlokoti also, the late, and many other guys, including Skrima Chabalala. And he formed Kaizer 11 in 1969, but came January the 7th in 1970, then Kaizer registered the Kaizer Chiefs Football Club Pty Ltd. And then it started. And that same year, interestingly enough, they played the first Soweto derby. So interestingly, because Kaizer Chiefs, when it was formed, it toured the country, went around all provinces of South Africa, playing friendly games. And that's how Kaizer Chiefs actually built these supporters branches all over the country, because you trace it back to their history. Then the general manager / PRO was a man called Bra'i. He was Iwet Nene. His nickname was the Lip. Out of his lips came fire when he spoke of Kaizer Chiefs, that man. Kaizer Chiefs have that long culture of having PROs that were quite articulate about the brand and what it stood for, its slogans, love and peace, the glamour boys of Pefeni, and then lately came Putco Mafani, and he borrowed a slogan from Kabelo of Pantsula for life to coin Kosi for life, which is still there and is still one of the strongest slogans and payoff lines at Kaizer Chiefs. So the Soweto derby then, unfortunately, Swallows also fell along the way. Pimville United Brothers were the first ones to fall off, and then Maroka Swallows also fell along the way until just recently at the beginning of this season, with the help of Panyaza Lisufi, then Swallows came back. But then Chiefs and Pirates had always been there, consistently, proudly representing Soweto. And so Sundowns would never been there. Aximan was a Soweto. They come from Ituri. It doesn't matter how successful they are, they can only play Tshwane Derby with Supersport United, please. But Collie, the interesting thing about the Soweto Derby is that the Soweto Derby, as I said earlier on, is more than just football. It cuts into half in family units, right in Soweto, and the rest of the Gauteng and South Africa. Family units, you'll discover that the father is probably in Orlando Pirates and the mother is a Kaizer Chiefs. It cuts into half family units. It cut into halves churches, cultural organizations, parliament, cabinet. You must see parliament when there's a Soweto derby over the weekend. Literally cut into two. So that's the power. I mean, this derby is one of the top 3 derbies in Africa. There is a derby in Egypt, okay, and it's one of the biggest derbies as well. There are derbies in the DRC. There are derbies in Ghana, and in the whole of Africa, this is the top derby, particularly when you speak the commerce that goes into it, the money that is made by the derby, from television rights to sponsors and licensed merchandise and all of that, people go to betting also with the derby. And some people die also with the Soweto derby. I remember a Soweto derby in 2001. We were playing the BP Top 8 semi-final, and we beat Pirates in that game. We beat them 1-0. One supporter from Mpumalanga celebrated. He jumped high at the old FNB Stadium, and he landed head first down that moat, and he died, unfortunately. The excitement that goes with it. In South Africa, there is no game. You can give me Bafana Bafana. There is no game that beats the Soweto derby.
Putco, before I let you go, because I'm told time is against me now, I want to talk about this sad incident that happened on April the 11th, 2001. And that's when we saw the stampede leading to 43 people losing their lives. Any lessons from that particular period that you think should have been learnt by now, and what's been done basically to try and make sure that that unfortunate incident does not occur around such an excitement-filled derby?
If you remember, Crowley, and the viewers might recall that before 11 April 2001, Chiefs could play Pirates, or Pirates could play Chiefs on a Wednesday evening, could play midweek, play in the evening, and tickets would be on sale on the day of the game and sold also at the stadium. But when the sad Ellis Park disaster happened, and we lost 43 souls, 43 is just but a big number. When we think about it, and personally when I think about it, I get to be on the downside of my emotions. But I'm also grateful that I believe that the supernatural was watching everything that was happening. And when the supernatural felt it was enough, he appointed a man to restore order, to have the power to speak order when order was needed. And it happened. And later on, I didn't go home to sleep. I went to the Johannesburg General Hospital. At Joburg Gen, you had more than 110 spectators that were treated at the casualty, and some were admitted. And some of those needed accommodation. Some were left by their taxis and trains and all of that. And so I took a lot of them, to my home, to my house in Naturena. And then President Thabo Mbeki appointed a commission of inquiry, and that was Judge Bernard Ngwepe. The Ngwepe Commission of Inquiry did exactly what you're asking. What went wrong, and what would be the recommendations? And so we went for more than a month. We were at the Supreme Court at Preacher Street, attending the commission, and we made certain concessions, and we admitted some of the plans that had worked before, which would never work again. Number one, we then agreed at the commission, and Bernard Ngwepe then made the recommendations to the president that no more should the Soweto derby be played midweek. Because its fans, the fans of the Soweto derby, which means the fans of the two giants, Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs, travel from literally all 9 provinces. There is no other club in South Africa that attracts that wide following. So no more on a Wednesday, because these people travel after work. By the time they get to Joburg, if they're from Mpumalanga or Limpopo, it's late already. But they come regardless because of the love, the passion they have for the two giants. Then they have to travel back home. So number one, no more Soweto derbies midweek. Number two, no more Soweto derbies at night. Number three, no more sale of tickets on match day, let alone tickets from the black market. Oh my goodness, I don't like that term, black market. But anyway, we came out with those recommendations, the resolutions and the submissions by Judge Bernard Ngwepe. And indeed, by the time we staged the 2010 FIFA World Cup, the recommendations of the Ngwepe Commission stood in place and assisted us as a country to run an incident-free and successful 2010 FIFA World Cup, thanks to the outcomes of that particular commission.
Putco Mafani, let's leave it there, Mhlekazi, and I've got to say to you, happy anniversary on your 15 years of marriage, and congratulations to you, because apparently this is also what you had hoped for, that Chiefs would win.
I'd love to thank Devin Hunt and the boys, Captain Bernard Parker, for the 3 points. It's a lovely, happy anniversary gift. Thank you, guys.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Putco Mafani, former